Hello, and welcome to Powerful Phone for Microsoft Teams. Today's awesome webinar is sponsored by RingCentral and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is Jess Steinbach with Actual Tech Media, and I am absolutely thrilled to be your moderator for this discussion. Now, there has been a lot of change over the last few years, changes to how and where we work, how we socialize, travel, live, and enjoy the world around us. Some of these changes has been good, and some, well, I think we could probably all live without. But one thing has remained constant through it all: the need for effective communication and the importance of technologies that power and enable it. So today we're exploring one of the foundational tools of both internal and external communication, the phone. In just a few moments, I will introduce you to our fascinating expert speaker from RingCentral, who will guide us through this exciting conversation and help you choose the best solution for you and your organization. But before we jump in, I'm going to just zip through a few important points about this webinar. First, I want to draw your attention to the questions section of your webinar console. Now, the absolute best part of an event like this is the chance to ask questions directly of an expert like we have with us here today. So make sure to get those in. And if we're unable to get to your question in the live Q&A, don't worry, the RingCentral team will be following up with you after the event. A quick reminder that the questions console is also a great place to say hi to the other awesome folks in the audience today. You can also use that tab to connect with the Actual Tech Media team if you have any technical issues during the session, knock on wood, of course. Now, don't forget that a browser refresh should get rid of any of the usual tech gremlins. Okay, skipping along to that handout section right next to the questions tab in your console. You're going to see some exciting content to go along with the webinar today, including an awesome brief, Bring World-Class Customer Experience and Calling into Microsoft Teams. So be sure to download that for some exciting reading after the event. And hey, it's not just awesome content that we're giving away today. We also have a $300 Amazon gift card as a prize drawing at the end of our webinar. Of course, you must be in attendance during the live event to qualify for the prize, and all winners must meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. If you're not sure what those are, you can actually find the full T's and C's in that handouts tab. Just click on in and scroll down. Now, I know that this crew is not going to need any additional nudging to ask questions, but hey, we like curiosity here. So today, we're also going to be giving away a $50 Amazon gift card to the best question asked during the webinar. Keep in mind that the team will review all of the questions asked after the event, which means even if your question does not get read out in our live Q&A, there is still a chance to win. And as always, we will reach out via email to our lucky winner after the event. Okay, team. Now, I know that you are just as impatient as I am to get started, so let's dive right in. I am so excited to introduce our awesome expert, Eric Kenny, Director of Product Marketing, MVP Strategy at RingCentral. Eric, thank you so much for being here with us today. I know that you have a lot of great content to cover, so I will hand the mic over to you.
Well, thank you for that amazing introduction, Jess. As she mentioned, my name is Eric Kenny, and I am the Director of Product Marketing at RingCentral. Here today to talk about RingCentral for Microsoft Teams. So we're going to cover a few topics today. I'm going to start off talking about how Teams got so popular. We'll then move into talking about best of breed versus best of bundle strategies for IT. We'll talk about some of the places that Teams may come up short for some of our customers, and how RingCentral can complement any Teams deployment. So we've got a lot to cover, so let's get right into it. You know, the way that I always like to start off these conversations is by finding out from our customers how Teams got deployed at their organization. Now, there's always unique twists and turns and special use cases for each one of our customers. But generally speaking, I find that the story about how Teams came to be at their company to be pretty similar and to really hit some common themes. Now, that first point is there was that pre-pandemic evaluation. This is when things were a little bit calmer and IT was going through the normal stages of assessing communication and collaboration tools. So they were finding about specific user groups within their organization, specific use cases, ways that people needed to use these different communication platforms. And then, of course, March 2020 hit, and everybody had to go work from home immediately overnight. So those well laid out plans and all the thinking that we were doing and the careful design of how you were going to purchase and roll out these communication and collaboration platforms went out the window because you needed something to give to your users right now. So typically what happened was that IT took a look around at the tools that were available and said, what can we give to our users today that will enable them to communicate and collaborate and stay productive, even though everybody is working from home and nobody is in the office working. And what a lot of customers did was they looked around and said, oh, I've got this Office 365 license. And Microsoft Teams is included with Office 365. It's going to give our users the ability to chat, to message, to video conference, and to use the phone. And it's something that we have available today, something that we don't have to write an additional check for. So let's just get this out to our users today because it can keep our whole company productive. Now, as we've kind of worked through the pandemic and we're 2.5, almost 3 years later, it's clear that one thing is here to stay, and that is hybrid work. Most of the customers that I talk to, if they're not going fully remote or offering remote work to their employees, they are offering some sort of hybrid option where employees can come into the office 1, 2, maybe 3 days a week to kind of get that feel of, see their coworkers and collaborate with them in person, but also have the flexibility to work remotely whenever is necessary for them and kind of fits their schedule. So one of the things that I think is here to stay is hybrid work. So we chose these communication and collaboration platforms at the beginning of the pandemic, but because the nature of work has changed and we are going to be sticking with the hybrid work model for the foreseeable future, we still do need these communication and collaboration platforms. So we're now into what I call the fourth stage of the Teams deployment stages, and that is what I'm calling the Great Reconsideration. So now that we are out of this panic stage where we're just trying to get tools out to our users and help them understand what they are and how to use them, we've now got a minute to take a breath and understand what is exactly best for us and what are the actual tools that we should be using. I see a lot of our customers taking a step back and really taking a hard look at Teams and evaluating whether it is the best tool for them or not. This leads us into a conversation about best of breed. And one of the things that I like to ask about from our customers as well is, how are they using Office 365, specifically the apps that come with it? And what I tend to see is on that top line there, really heavy usage. I think this is the main reason that people are buying Office 365. It's for Outlook, it's for Excel, it's for PowerPoint, it's for Word. These productivity tools that their users use on a daily basis to get work done. Where the conversation gets interesting, though, is when you move down to that second, third, and fourth level of apps that come within Office 365. So here you're getting into the SharePoints and the OneNotes and the OneDrives of the world, and really getting an understanding of the usage of those apps within the organization. And what we tend to find is that on that top row, heavy usage, between 80 and 90% of users at their company using them on a daily or weekly basis. But as you move down, much less frequent use of those apps. And it could be for a few reasons. One is that the users just don't have a specific need for them. The other may be that those are just kind of good enough apps and they don't really fit all of the needs or the wants of the users. From here, it's always interesting to find out too, how are you using these apps that represented by the logos on this page. So at the top there, you've got things like BI apps, file sharing apps on the next slide or on the next row, project management and note-taking apps, identity management, and endpoint management tools on the bottom row. All these different things and services that are available to our customers to go out and really kind of deliver the best IT services possible. So if you look at this slide and you are a customer of any one of these companies and you also use Office 365, I want to congratulate you on adopting a best of breed strategy. All these customers that are going out and have Office 365 subscriptions, but are going out and actually procuring these additional services as well, have kind of recognized that those kind of second and third line apps that they get with Office 365 either don't meet all of their users' needs, or they just find that these other services are superior to them. So they go out and procure them, even though it's something that they get with Office 365. And you're not alone in adopting this strategy. Best of breed has never been more popular. So what we see from our customers on the telephony side is that 85% of them are actually choosing a third party for telephony. So this is obviously something that you can get from Microsoft if you have an E5 license or if you buy one of their calling plans. But obviously the data shows that the vast majority of Office 365 customers don't find the telephony that you get from Microsoft satisfactory and look to a third party for it. This is also something that has become more popular over time. And the very recent past, 65% increase in the number of 365 customers who have 4 or more best of breed apps. So what this means is that those customers, heavy usage of those top line apps like PowerPoint, Excel, Word, and Outlook, but that stuff that's below the line, they are just investing elsewhere to go and get apps that really meet their users' needs. And again, maybe a superior service to what you get from Microsoft. And this last one is one that really jumps out at me. 38% of 365 customers are also using Google Workspace. And this is really where I have to tip my cap to you as an IT administrator or somebody that makes decisions within IT, because to me, what this really reflects is that you are going and understanding your users' needs and providing them with the tools that make them most productive. So instead of kind of having this unbending approach that everybody has to use the same set of tools, what this means is that you're actually going out and finding out about those users' needs and wants, what's going to make them most productive, and give them the tools that are going to make them the happiest, and again, the most productive. So kudos to you as an IT professional. Now, when it comes to best of breed in telephony, it's clear that RingCentral is the best of breed. We've been around for almost 25 years now. We've been named a leader by all the analysts, highest in the critical use cases, leader in UCaaS market share, and we've got 60% of our customers using at least message, video, or phone, 2 out of 3. So when customers do recognize, like what you showed on the last slide, that the Microsoft Teams telephony doesn't cut it and it doesn't meet their business use cases or their advanced needs, they look elsewhere for phone. And RingCentral is really the natural place for them to start that search, just because we are recognized as the best of breed and the leader within the telephony space. So the next question that I commonly get is, okay, we know that the Microsoft telephony doesn't really meet our needs and it's something that we want to complement with another solution. But if I go and get RingCentral, how is it going to integrate with Teams? Message and video are things that my users love, things that they want to keep continuing to use on a daily basis. But telephony is really where we need the help and really where we need to integrate seamlessly within the Teams environment that we've already deployed to our users. The great thing about RingCentral is that we give you some flexibility to choose between 2 different options. The first one is the embedded dialer, which is really great if you have an E1 or an E3 Office 365 license. With the embedded dialer, RingCentral shows up in the Microsoft Teams taskbar on the left-hand side and serves as a shortcut to the RingCentral dialer. The great thing about this is that it is super simple to deploy and is going to give your users access to the full RingCentral experience right from within Microsoft Teams. So you get that 5 nines reliability, you get all the advanced PBX features, but it is within that environment and that app that you're used to. So you don't have to train them on something new, get them to download a new app. It is all within that familiar experience, but you really do get that enhanced telephony from RingCentral as opposed to what you would get with Microsoft. The second option that we offer is direct routing. And this is something that we see really widely adopted from our customers that have an E5 license from Microsoft or the ability to pay for a calling plan from Microsoft. Really great thing about direct routing is that it offers a completely native Teams experience. With the embedded dialer, there's that shortcut which gets to the RingCentral embedded dialer, of course, where you make the phone calls. But with direct routing, it is a completely native experience. You would use the Teams dialer. RingCentral is actually completely invisible to the end user, so they get a completely native Teams experience. But of course, you get that enhanced telephony and the much better experience and much better reliability that you come to expect from RingCentral, all within that native Teams experience. So let's get now to why customers are choosing RingCentral as that best of breed complement to Teams, as opposed to just choosing a native Teams calling plan. First is it's actually pretty expensive to run Teams telephony. The common thing that I hear from a lot of our customers is that we chose Teams because it was quote unquote free. And that really comes in the context of I bought an Office 365 license and Teams was included in what I bought. So therefore it is free because I don't have to pay for anything additional. An analyst actually went out and did a study and looked at things in terms of licensing, extra hardware you might have to pay for, end user training, the number of help desk tickets that come in, and found that when compared to comparable UCaaS vendors like RingCentral, Teams was actually the most expensive one to operate by about 20% higher than the industry average. So This is one of those things where there is a high cost of quote unquote free, especially when it comes to Teams. So I would encourage you to think, if you're thinking about Teams just as a way to take advantage of what you already paid for and are thinking about it as free, take a look at those hidden costs like support tickets and hardware and the like, and really kind of do that analysis about how much Teams is actually costing you, because you might be surprised by the result when you do that analysis. RingCentral, on the other hand, reduces that complexity and cost when it comes to managing a Teams deployment. If you look at the bottom there, you can see the embedded dialer is actually the lowest cost way, the lowest total cost of ownership way to do Teams with enhanced telephony from RingCentral. You only need to have that E1 or E3 license, which is obviously the lowest cost offering from Microsoft. You can just add RingCentral MVP with the embedded dialer and have a really low total cost of ownership when it comes to a UCaaS solution with that enhanced telephony from RingCentral. The next best option is direct routing. If you have an E1 or E3 license, you can just pay the Microsoft calling fee, which is $8 per user a month, and have that really native Teams experience, or upgrade to the E5 license and get which will have direct routing included. As we kind of go up the change, you can see all of those hidden costs that come in with just running that Teams calling plan. And what you get from Microsoft, which can really add up. There are a lot of hidden costs, which, as I talked about on the previous slide, really add up quickly and make it one of the most, if not the most, expensive UCaaS solution to operate. The other, really great thing, and the thing that customers come to us very frequently about, is our proven reliability. And what that means is that we have 5 nines availability for 15 straight quarters now. So when you compare that to Teams, Teams announced that they were moving from 3 nines to 4 nines reliability in Q4 of last year. The verdict is still out about how well they've actually been able to deliver on that SLA, whereas RingCentral has documented proof of 15 straight quarters of 5 nines reliability. So if you are really dependent on your phone and you are dependent on it to run your business, to deliver service to your customers, the reliability that you get from Teams may lead to lost business or dissatisfied customers. Whereas with RingCentral, you can really count on us to be up with that 5 nines reliability. So again, for those customers that have a big dependency on the phone to deliver services or to generate revenue, they do turn to RingCentral because they know it's going to be there for them and available for them. The other great thing about it too is we have a contact center that you can integrate right within the Teams and RingCentral environment. Not something that's really offered by natively through Teams. You have to go and possibly integrate Dynamics into your environment. But with RingCentral, we really do give you that end-to-end solution for inbound, outbound, digital, omni-channel, all these different ways that you can service your customers better and really deliver a superior customer experience that's going to differentiate you from your competitors. This next one is one that I think is super critical and something that really does create a lot of differentiation and a lot of value to any Teams deployment. And that is our business analytics, or our analytics in general, which come in 2 different flavors. One is these IT admin analytics, which is going to help you diagnose things like quality of service and where there might be challenges, with connectivity for some users. Super important when it comes to remote work and hybrid work. When everybody was in the office, it was really simpler to diagnose where a problem was happening and fix that problem. But now that if you have a dispersed workforce and everybody is working on different networks and on different devices, it becomes much more challenging to diagnose where some sort of issue is coming from. But IT admin analytics are going to help you do that by diagnosing things when it comes to networks, where there might be a challenge with the device. So you can find the root cause of a problem a lot faster and get to a mean time to resolution that is much lower than if you were kind of flying blind and kind of having to understand on a case-by-case basis where the issue is coming from. Business analytics is something that we are actually GAing very soon. It's something that I'm very excited about because this is a real game changer for line of business leaders. So when you think about something like if you're managing an inbound call queue, understanding how those agents are handling those inbound calls, being able to look in real time the health of a call queue to see if there are people on hold, and if so, being able to take agents from an underused or underutilized call queue move them to that other one that is a little bit towards running towards maximum, and being able to adjust on the fly so your customers get served really well on a real-time basis. The other thing you can do is help with staffing levels. So for example, if you're able to look at data and say, you know what, we have a really large number of abandoned calls between 12 and 1. Well, you know what, you might need to adjust the lunch schedule for your agents that are handling inbound calls. And by doing that, you can reduce the number of abandoned calls and increase revenue, decrease costs. So it is a really great way to get the data that you need to make really data-driven decisions to either increase revenue or decrease costs. And again, this is an area where we are really differentiated from teams. You can see all of the different types of analytics and data sources and reports that you can get from RingCentral. And when you compare that to teams, they're really limited in this capability. You're going to get essentially some data on adoption and usage, some quality of service reports, but that's really it. You're really going to be kind of flying blind when it comes to getting those insights that are going to help you make those data-driven business decisions that again will help you maximize revenue or decrease costs. Another area where we really shine is where you can integrate your business apps into RingCentral. So if you have apps like Salesforce, Google Workspace, any sort of CRM like HubSpot or Zoho, you can actually integrate that into RingCentral to really optimize those workflows and marry your communication systems to your tools like your CRM to make it really seamless experience for people like sales agents or customer service reps to really have that seamless experience so you can manage your customers and provide that superior customer service a lot better. The other great thing is that we really help you get more out of your 365 subscription with integrations from RingCentral into Microsoft 365. So this is one that I use on a daily basis. So when you are setting meetings through Outlook, you're actually able to use the Outlook scheduler, which will insert a RingCentral video meeting link into your Outlook meetings. So it is a really easy way to make sure that you're getting the most out of Outlook, you're getting the most out of RingCentral if you're using the video capabilities with this really seamless integration into Outlook to automatically add these links so everybody can meet in the same place at the same time. Next is an integration with OneDrive. So this is a really cool feature for our messaging capabilities. You can actually connect your OneDrive account right into RingCentral messaging. So if you're frequently sharing files via messaging, it is much easier than kind of going on that hunt into your different folders and dragging and dropping into RingCentral messaging. Instead, you're actually able to just do a really one-click quick connection into OneDrive. So you have that quick access to all the files that you would need to collaborate and share with your colleagues, customers, vendors, whoever it may be. Another real key differentiator for us here too is being able to deliver all the phone capabilities that you need for everyone in your organization. So one of the things that we do see or hear from our customers, about Teams, that it falls a little short with these advanced PBX capabilities. So things like fax and SMS, the CRM integrations, heads-up display, things like Call Whisper Barge. This is one that is really big, especially with sales scenarios where a sales manager might be, with a newer sales rep, kind of listening on their calls and being able to hear what a new sales rep is saying to a customer. With the whisper capability, actually being able to go in and provide some suggestions in real time about what they might want to say to help, progress a sale that's happening over the phone. And then with the Barge capabilities, if things are going very wrong on a call, being able to actually come into that phone call and provide real-time assistance, hugely helpful, to our customers that use RingCentral. IVR, call queuing, all these really advanced capabilities that you get with RingCentral are some areas where Teams might fall short and are a reason that you might want to look for a complement to what you're doing with Teams. Another really key one too is that we have RingCentral's global footprint. So local PSTN in 44 countries, which is way ahead of where Microsoft is right now. So if you are expanding globally, it can be really difficult to do so with Teams if you are moving to a country where they don't offer local PSTN. That means you're going to have to either hire somebody locally to build it out for you, or just choose another service altogether. Whereas with RingCentral, odds are we're going to have local PSTN available for you in whatever country you're moving to. You'll be able to expand really easily globally. from someplace like the United States, opening up an office in Italy without ever having to go there or knowing how local PSTN works. It is something that is super simple to manage with RingCentral with our global footprint. Now, just to kind of go into some customer success stories, I talk about being in the US and expanding in an office in Italy. This is actually something that happened in real life with one of our customers, Interparfums. They acquired a company that was actually based in Italy. They were heavy team shop. So what he was actually able to do from his office in New York City is give some lines through direct routing, with the embedded dialer to the users within that office. So they were able to get telephony that matched, the Interparfums PSTN and PBX right from his office in New York City. So he didn't have to put a new service into place. He didn't have to change, the experience for those end users of a newly acquired company, which can always be difficult. You don't want to change too much too fast for these newly acquired companies for their employees. So he was actually able to integrate that really easily into their team's environment. And again, he did this all from his office in New York City, even though the company that they acquired was in Italy. So a really great experience for everyone involved and something that was really super simple for them to do. And next is Hernandez & Company, also another global story where, rapidly expanding into all of these different countries and able from the US to manage the expansion really easily into all of these international places and getting some pretty serious cost benefits or cost saving benefits from it as well. $2,000 to $3,000 a month they're experiencing in savings since they moved to RingCentral. And they're doing it with direct routing because they wanted to offer that completely native Teams experience to their end users. So this is something that's really important to them. And of course, we offer the flexibility to choose between the embedded dialer or direct routing. So this was something that they were able to kind of evaluate on their own and choose what was best for them. And of course, went with the direct routing solution. So Jess, that is going to do it for me. Do we have any questions out there from anybody that's listening today?
Yes, we do. We're getting some great questions. Eric, thank you for such an awesome presentation. That was,
Thank you.
I love that emphasis on global scalability and flexibility. I think, you set that tone at the top of how important that is these days. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, glad to hear.
Well, we've got some great questions coming in from our audience, Eric, but before we jump into those, I actually have a question for you.
Sure.
Perfect. Lovely. You showed a slide about some of the different analytics and reports that you can get with RingCentral. I was wondering if you could tell us a bit more about how you're seeing customers interacting with that data.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned before, there's a couple of different use cases on the IT analytics side. And, it's really important today with this dispersed workforce of being able to diagnose issues really quickly. So like I mentioned before, having people on all these different networks, people aren't on the office network anymore. So being able to diagnose when somebody's on their home network to say, actually, it's your ISP is having an issue right now. So you need to contact your ISP, or it is your device that it doesn't have the proper permission. Let's fix it this way, right? There's a lot of different things that you can do to really reduce that time to resolution, because we know that help desk tickets are super expensive and they can take if they take a long time to get resolved, it leads to a lot of end user frustration. So being able to use those IT admin analytics is super important to really kind of support those this hybrid workforce that so many of our customers have today. Also, I mentioned too that the business analytics are coming as well. And this is something that we've seen from a lot of our customers in beta is really around staffing. So I mentioned, the example around lunch, because that is something that one of our customers did, is that they noticed that they had something like a 40% increase in the calls that were being abandoned. So a customer calling this customer, but being placed on hold for so long because there was actually nobody there to answer the call, that they were just giving up and hanging up the phone call. So they just adjusted, instead of sending everybody to lunch at the same time, they kind of staggered that lunch schedule, and their abandoned calls just dropped like a rock, right? So they're able to better service these customers. So there's just a lot of really interesting things they can do. We're also hearing from customers too that it's going to help them forecast staffing as well. So one customer was telling me about, based on the data that you're giving us, we saw that our call volume doubles in the weeks preceding the holidays. So they know that they need to get some temporary staffing in place to handle that call volume that they know is going to be coming, right before the holidays, so they can generate as much revenue as possible. And the great thing about it is that it helps them understand exactly how many people that they're going to need to hire during that time period, as opposed to just kind of guessing and being in a place where they may be overstaffed and are spending too much on labor, or understaffed and not being able to handle the call volume that they know is going to come in. So just a lot of really interesting and really useful ways to use all the data that we're generating for them.
That's so important. It's so hard. You're flying blind if you're making decisions without data. And that's such an obvious thing, but I think we often forget that. And you have to be able to collect it, and then you have to be able to slice it in a way that's actually going to be useful. So it sounds like you guys are helping provide both of those things.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love that. Okay, well, I'm going to jump into some audience questions now because we've got a couple of great ones here. So this one I'd like to start with. If I was a direct routing customer, would RingCentral be available if Teams is down?
Yeah, so that's an excellent question, and it's one that we get pretty frequently from a lot of our customers as well. When I talked about direct routing, I talked about how it was a completely native Teams experience. So it's RingCentral is essentially invisible in the case of direct routing. But what we do hear from our customers is that when Teams goes down, they still want to have a way for their users to be able to make phone calls and be able to communicate with their colleagues and customers and partners. The great thing about RingCentral is that high availability that I talked about. With 5 nines availability, I think we're down for maybe 6.5 minutes a year. So you can always count on RingCentral being available. So the strategy that we've seen a lot of our customers employ that are using direct routing is that they actually place RingCentral as a shortcut on their user's web browser. There's the RingCentral app that you can download. So some you do choose that strategy, but more commonly, we see IT admins put RingCentral web app as a shortcut on their user's browser. So that way, in case Teams is down, those users can actually just one click get into RingCentral web app. So there's no download needed, and they can actually go in and access the RingCentral phone. And again, they don't lose a beat or lose any productivity, even if Teams is down, just because of RingCentral's high availability, and just kind of employing that strategy of, for lack of a better term, we now have disaster recovery or a backup plan for when Teams is down through RingCentral.
That's so important. I mean, we know downtime can be extremely costly, so that's 6 minutes is a much more reasonable. Okay, well, let's take another question here. I like this one. What types of integrations would I get with RingCentral that I wouldn't get with Teams?
Yeah, so that's an interesting one too, because the way that I always think about this one is that, when it comes to integrating apps into Teams, they actually do pretty well there. And they have a pretty robust ecosystem of apps that you can integrate into Teams. Where I think they fall short a little bit though, is being able to integrate Teams into other workflows that you have. So because of the way that they kind of handle integrations, they don't really optimize existing workflows that you have, or really make the investments that you have in other applications or other services better. They really force you to become team-centric and build your workflows around Teams. RingCentral really takes a different approach, where we're actually going to embed RingCentral into the apps that you use today to make your existing workflows a little bit better. So the example that I give for that is around something like Salesforce. As somebody that used to be in sales in a different lifetime, I can attest to, looking up a contact in Salesforce, seeing their phone number, and then looking down at my phone and dialing the number. It's a little time consuming. It takes like 10 seconds to do it every time. But when you make 100 phone calls a day, that really adds up, and it becomes like a portion of your day that you have to spend just dialing the phone. Whereas with RingCentral, we actually are able to embed our dialer into into Salesforce. So that way, when I look up a contact in Salesforce and I find that card, there's going to be a little phone icon right next to that person's phone number. And if I click that phone icon, it's actually going to place a call to that person. So I don't have to waste 10 seconds, dialing the phone. I can just do it with one click. So again, we want to go into the workflows that you have today and make them better, as opposed to forcing you to make your workflows RingCentral centric. That's really kind of been our strategy of being able to make what you do better as opposed to forcing you to what we think may be best.
Well, I hate to wrap this conversation up, Eric, because I'm learning tons, but I think that's a great note to end on. And before we head out for the day, I just want to ask if someone in our audience is ready to jump in with RingCentral, they've just fallen totally in love, as I'm sure they all have. What do they do? What's their first step? How are they getting started?
Yeah, sure. So the best thing to do is go to ringcentral.com. You can see a lot of information that we talked about here today. On the website, you can request a demo. There are some great videos on there that will illustrate what we talked about. If you want to learn more specifically about what we offer through Microsoft or with Microsoft, go to ringcentral.com/Microsoft, and you can learn more about the embedded dialer, direct routing. And again, I'll just kind of reinforce a lot of the things that we talked about here today.
Awesome. Okay. And I do want to remind everyone to check out that handout section again. There's some really fascinating resources there. So if you're looking for more information right away, head on over there and download those to read after the event. Thank you so much again, Eric, for this presentation and for an absolutely fascinating conversation. It has been a pleasure chatting with you today.
Thank you so much for having me on, Jess. It was great experience for me as well.
Okay, and before we head out for the day, we have one more little bit of excitement to add to an already extremely exciting day. It is time for a prize giveaway. Today's winner of a $300 Amazon gift card is Mario Mesa of Texas. Congratulations to Mario Mesa of Texas. As always, a reminder, you must be in attendance at the event today, and we will be in touch shortly about claiming your prize. And with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to thank RingCentral for making this event possible, and a giant thank you to Eric for sharing some really exciting innovations with us today. And hey, sending high fives and a special thank you to all of you for attending and asking some awesome questions. These events are so wonderful to be a part of because they give us the opportunity to connect and explore innovative new ideas together. I know I've learned a ton from this discussion. I hope you all have as well. I can't wait to see you all at an event again soon. And until then, have an absolutely beautiful rest of your day.